Your Buffalo Bills got some good news and some bad news about 48 hours before Thursday Night Football, and we're going to discuss the latest injury updates and who's playing and who's trending towards not playing against the Miami Dolphins in Week 3. The Bills injury report for Tuesday just came out, and here is how it looks. No changes from Monday to Tuesday, but we have some more information on where these guys are at in their recovery process. The big injuries being Ed Oliver, Matt Milano, and of course, Taron Johnson, who did miss Week 2's action against the New York Jets. We'll break down the status of all these guys in just a moment. But first, I want to thank you guys for 6,000 subscribers here on the Bills Breakdown. We make Bills videos every single day. We've been grinding and building this channel from the ground up. So I just want to thank you guys for showing support and tuning in to the show every day, because we upload free Bills content here. And if you guys want free Bills content, it's your first time on the channel, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment here on the Bills Breakdown. We cover everything surrounding your Buffalo Bills. We also do live streams as well. We will be live for Thursday Night Football against the Miami Dolphins, a pregame tailgate. We'll also have free play-by-play, highlights, stats, analysis, and so much more during the 60 minutes of football action. So join us 6:30 Eastern Time starting on Thursday. Would love to have you guys there, and I can't wait for Bills versus Dolphins in Week 3. Alrighty, let's get into some Bills injury news here, and we'll start with the bad news. Ed Oliver is still in a walking boot. The good news of it is he was playing ping pong in the practice facility on Tuesday, but he's still in a boot and is not practicing and is obviously trending towards not playing in Week 3. Could be a little bit longer than that, as I was looking around Twitter, and everybody's favorite Bills injury updater, Banged Up Bills over on X, he's speculating that due to all the context clues here, him still being in a boot, and there not being much speculation here, or not being much said from the coaching staff here about his real status. He's speculating a high ankle sprain for Ed Oliver, and that looks like it's a multi-week injury here, not only missing Week 3, but potentially Week 4 and beyond. Look, the priority for Ed Oliver after that performance in Week 1 is having this guy ready to roll for the postseason, and we did see what the Bills' defensive line looked like in Week 2 without Ed Oliver in the mix. And look, everybody stepped up. Like, Ed Oliver was the only guy who was playing at a high level. I guess Joey Bosa was playing pretty solid in Week 1 as well. But and nobody else really kind of stepped up in Week 1 against a really good Ravens rushing attack and offense. Week 2 was a 180. Everybody stepped up in the absence of Ed Oliver. And yeah, the PFF doesn't really tell the whole story, but Buffalo is relying on a couple of young players here on the interior of the defensive line. TJ Sanders, Deion Walker. Deion Walker actually ended up getting the start in the 1-tech, and they moved over DaQuan Jones to that 3-tech position where Ed Oliver plays. But they're going to be relying on these guys big time in this matchup against Miami, as TJ Sanders specifically is a pass-rushing defensive tackle, and against one of the league's most high-volume passing attacks in Miami, he's going to be playing a lot. I wanted to go to this from Anthony Cover 1. It was a good little breakdown here of TJ Sanders and the action that he had in the run game specifically against the New York Jets. He said he had good hand placement on the contact and he had good extension. If you guys see, he's number 98 there on in the 3 technique on the left side of the defensive line, has his head and shoulder in his primary gap there, and he reads the running back's track because he has extension and the leverage, and then he sheds and falls back into the secondary gap on the right side of him. Yes, the running back ends up going to the right side of TJ Sanders. He makes the adjustment and then muddies up the middle of that line of scrimmage, and he ends up being a part of the tackle that's made there. So really good run defense from TJ Sanders, and I'm excited to see what he can do in Week 3 against Miami here, because he wasn't the best graded Bills defensive tackle in Week 2. So I'm looking forward to seeing his name get called and him being playing at a really high level in Week 3. And it's not just the Bills' young players that will be making an impact on the defensive line here, as the Bills have made some really sneaky signings along the waiver wire and on their practice squad here. Zion Logue got pulled up for Week 2, and he was a monster against the Jets here. Had a 69.4 pass rush grade. He had a sack. He ended up having a stuff at the line of scrimmage to stop one of the Jets' nice runs. And, he was really one of the Bills' above average defenders along that defensive line. He's going to have his name called a bunch here in Ed Oliver's absence as well. Looking forward to seeing all of the, hungry Bills interior defensive linemen here try to make an impact. And as a whole, the Bills' defensive line is a lot better than we thought, I think. I mean, look what the Jets did in Week 1 against the Steelers. Like, they kind of bullied them. Armand Membu had his way with TJ Watt for most of that matchup. And, in Week 2, the Bills flipped them on their heads. They said, no, we're not dealing with any of that nonsense. And they manhandled the Jets at the line of scrimmage. And the offensive line for the Bills did so as well. Joey Bosa is a lot better than we initially had expected. I mean, he's been riddled with injury over the last few years. He's finally healthy, and he's back to being a game-wrecking edge Greg Rousseau, we know, is really good, and Ed Oliver is playing like one of the best defensive tackles in the league when he's out there. Hopefully that's very, very soon. Speaking of Joey Bosa, he had this to say about the Bills' injury list as well. He said he wasn't sure exactly who would be filling in at linebacker. He was talking about Ed Oliver and Matt Milano here potentially missing time. So it seems like a pretty good indicator, according to Mike Rose here, that both are going to miss Thursday's action. So Milano now we talk about and his injury here. It's not good. He's injured at the beginning of the season again, and that happens too often with his Bills tenure here. But hopefully this isn't too long-term of an injury. Sean McDermott said he could practice on Wednesday, I would presume in a limited fashion, and he's not ruling out the possibility at the same time, though, of this being a long-term injury. So really no timetable on the return of Matt Milano here. Definitely going to be keeping our nose to the grindstone on that because the Bills absolutely need him. And this defense cannot perform at its highest level if Matt Milano is not healthy. Now, the people behind Matt Milano on the depth chart here, my guy Buffalo Joe Andreessen, he's going to be playing a lot more defensive snaps than he did in Week 2 when he subbed in and played against the Jets reserves there. He was one of the Bills' highest-graded defensive players, actually, in Week 2. Dorian Williams, as well, made a couple of nice plays against New York in Week 2. And then Shaq Thompson did not play against the Jets, but he is back at practice, and he will look to play in Week 3. I think the Bills are going to be fine at the linebacker spot. Milano hasn't been anything crazy to start this year, but it's the captainship, it's the veteran leadership that he has out there that the Bills will miss. If you guys had to start one of these three cats, type the jersey number down in the comment section. If it's Buffalo Joe, the hometown kid, type 44 for my guy. Dorian Williams, type 42. And then Shaq Thompson, type 45. I'm trying to hear what the Mafia thinks about Matt Milano's replacement linebacker. All right, good news for the Bills before Week 3. Some good injury news we have to get to in just a moment. First, though, I got to tell you guys about our proud sponsor. That's Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform. Because it's daily fantasy made easy, folks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid and get you up to 2,000 times your money watching your Buffalo Bills this season. It's daily fantasy made easy because you just pick 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their projected stats. Prize Picks wants to make it easier for you guys to do so they'll hook you guys up with incredible deals, like $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup, but you got to use our promo code CLNS. There's football, you can do college and pro, baseball playoffs are around the corner, basketball is around the corner. You can mix and match all these different sports, but for Week 3, I have this. Devon Achane, more than half a rushing or receiving touchdown. He gets in the paint every single time he plays the Bills. Josh Allen, more than 232.5 passing yards. And Keon Coleman, 44.5 receiving yards. Yeah, I'll take the more on that. Tail my picks or fade them. Just do it at Prize Picks. Download the app and use our promo code CLNS for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Alrighty, here, let's get into the Taron Johnson news here that everybody's been waiting for because he did miss Week 2's action against the Jets, and he is trending in the right direction. He did say about missing Week 2 and about being ready to go for Week 3, it was a minor little problem I was having, but I'm good now, and I'm ready to go. More from Johnson here about missing Week 2 and why. He said, just wanted to be smart. It's tough. When you're around that environment, you definitely want to be out there with your guys, but it seemed like the smartest thing to do. I feel like it worked out in the best way possible, and we got the win, and I feel good. And speaking of winning, Johnson did say that winning this week against a familiar opponent and, for lack of a better word, a trap game against the Miami Dolphins, it's up to the Bills and doing what they need to do and being prepared like they need to be prepared in order to take care of business here against an inferior football team. So I love that Taron Johnson's intensity here talking to the media. He seems like he's super excited to get back out there on the field, and I'm excited to see him, man, because the Bills have some injuries in the secondary, and they have all season long, specifically in the secondary now as Cam Lewis got a little bit banged up in Week 2 against the Jets. If Johnson and Lewis aren't 100%, I'm going to say the Bills will be in trouble in the slot here. The Dolphins have big-time speed at their receiver position, big-time route runners in Jalen Waddle, who operates a lot out of the slot, so we'll be definitely paying attention to how healthy Taron Johnson and Cam Lewis look, especially if Cam Lewis is good to go for Week 3 here. More positive injury news. Josh Allen, obviously good to go with that nose thing he had going on, the bloody nose, broken nose, who knows what it actually is. But he will be wearing a visor in Week 3 against the Miami Dolphins, a clear visor. And if you're looking at this picture, he's wearing a clear visor at Wyoming. He did so for most of his college career, but this will be the first time he's doing it as a pro. Josh said this. He said, We'll probably wear it in the game and just trying to get used to it. It is weird to say, but it's kind of a little warmer in there. Your voice kind of echoes off of it. I don't think I've won one in a game in the NFL. It's all right. I'm a little bruised up, but we're all good. Nothing will phase number 17. We know that this guy's a superhuman. And look, a little bloody nose, a little bruised up nose, a little punch in the face from an opposing defender that doesn't get flagged will never phase number 17. So I'm fired up to see him in the visor this week, and hopefully all that echoing nonsense doesn't phase him too much here. Some Dolphins injury news before we get out of today's show. Mike McDaniel was talking about center Aaron Brewer, who was dinged up with a hip injury. He said he's a captain of this team, and he's willing to do whatever it takes. So all signs point to the Dolphins having their starting center here for week 3. They have a ton of other injuries, guys on injured reserve on their offensive line, and James Daniels in Austin Jackson. So a depleted offensive line. Hopefully the Bills can take advantage of all that stuff. Also said wide receiver Malik Washington earlier. He is expected to play as well for the Dolphins here. He was dealing with an injury to his thumb, and another just weapon in that Dolphins wide receiver room. More speed on the outside that the Bills have to worry about here so they don't end up in a big play duel between Miami and Buffalo. Also, Darren Waller and Jalen Wright, they are still questionable for Miami. They're dealing with injuries. Jalen Wright, I don't know if he's that much of a factor. Can make big plays, but Ollie Gordon's getting most of the backup running back work there behind Devon Achane. Alrighty, with that being said, if you guys want a Bills blowout on Thursday night, show me down below and hit that thumbs up icon, like today's video, and smash it like it's a table at the grass lot and get fired up for week 3. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel as well, as that will do it for today's edition of the Bills Breakdown. And make sure you guys are tuned into our watch party on Thursday, 6:30 Eastern Time. Bills, Dolphins, week 3 action. We'll hope to see you guys there. If you will be there, comment down below and type real one. I'll be replying and hearting them all. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, let's go Buffalo.